Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of the iPhone Dev Show. And for episode 1, I'm joined by Aaron Cardell and Jason Isaac. Now, they both, first of all, welcome to both of you.
Thank you. Good to
Thanks
be
for
here.
having us.
Now, both of you, your first apps have been around the block for a little while. Aaron, you had iGarage Sale, and we'll get into the app a little bit later. And Jason, your first app was MileBug, correct?
Right.
So, and now you both are out with second apps, your follow-ups. I hope you don't have the sophomore slump, as it were. But I want to ask you, what has the process been like? Aaron, I'll ask you first. What has the process been like developing for the iPhone, and what was your development experience before this?
Sure. Well, I've been developing software for a while. Prior to iPhone development, I was mostly focused on web development. The primary languages that I was using before were Java, C++, Perl, PHP, that kind of thing. And so hadn't really had much exposure to Objective-C prior to iPhone development. I took a class by Dan Grigsby from Mobile Orchard. He has an intro to iPhone development for web developers class. And by taking that, I was really able to shorten the learning curve rather significantly. It is client app development and development for the iPhone specifically is, a very different beast, so to speak, than, say, web development, but found it to be rather enjoyable.
And Jason, what was your level of experience before this? Had you dealt with Objective-C before?
I had not, and my primary experience was in Java. I'd spent 10 years as a Java web developer. So I dove in, and, when I got in, the NDA was still in place, so none of the iPhone books could be published. And you'd hit Amazon, and there would be some books, but they'd say, still waiting, don't know when we'll be live. So we fuddled around for a while. I actually managed to hire a guy who had already done an iPhone game, and he got things rolling for me. So I wound up tapping into his expertise and a few others here in Utah, and I organized an iPhone developer training course here in Utah, and then I just sat in as a student. And because I figured I can either fly off to Texas or Georgia and take a class from one of these other guys and spend $3,000, or I can stay here in Utah, organize one of my own, and make $3,000.
And obviously the App Store has proven lucrative, at least for some developers. And I'm curious, if someone had, this is for either one of you, if someone had zero programming experience, what is step one if you want to learn to program an iPhone app?
Oh my. We've been offering those training courses for all of 2009, and we've had a variety of experience levels come into the class. And one thing I've realized, you can't come into that with zero programming experience. It's just not there. You need to go to your local community college or somewhere and just learn what is it to write software. Once you understand some basic principles, then you can get in and take one of these courses from somebody about writing iPhone apps. If you are an experienced developer in any other language, the resources now available from books to free courses online, just general Googling, you can ramp up well if you're an experienced developer.
And yeah, I would agree with that. I think it would probably be rather hard to just start out with iPhone development as your first go at it. The learning curve is already steep enough, with Objective-C being as different from other languages as it is, so it might be difficult to get started. That said, from what I hear, Adobe is releasing their CS5 package this year, and so I think that will perhaps lower the bar somewhat for those that are familiar with Flash development and being able to write iPhone apps with Flash.
And of course, one of the things we hear about are some bumps along the road in the app approval process. I was curious if either of you have any stories to share about your own experiences.
Well, I can jump in. When I submitted the first edition of iGarage Sale to Apple, I waited about 12 to 14 days and received a rejection. The note that they sent back to me said that it needed a higher age rating. I had submitted it to Apple with an age rating of 12 and up, and I thought that would be sufficient for the app. They suggested that 17 and up was more appropriate because iGarage Sale is pulling listings from Craigslist. And even though it's really limited to just the Craigslist, or rather just the garage sale category, they still felt more comfortable with the 17 and up rating. So resubmitting it to Apple, basically the exact same code, just the different age rating, took another 12 to 14 days for approval. Since then, most of my updates that I've submitted have been approved in 1 to 3 business days. So I think they are making significant improvements in the turnaround time. The only thing I would add is that I think when you compare that to the Android marketplace, when you submit an app through the Android marketplace, it's available instantaneously, and you basically agree that you're not breaking the terms of service when you submit the binary, and Google doesn't really check. They don't have the same type of review process that Apple does. There's definite pros and cons with that, but it is another model that appears to be working and allows us as developers to get updates out to consumers much more quickly.
And Jason, has it been smooth sailing for you through the process?
Not always, no. We just shipped my second personal app really is Match Tunes, and that one actually went very smooth, was approved in 6 days, and that was even over the Christmas holiday. So I think they've put a lot of things in place over the last month or 2 months even just to really make things more clean and efficient. But throughout 2009, we've been doing a number of apps for clients, over 40 apps now. And we've only had 2 of those rejected, but we were able to make corrections to one of them, even though they rejected it 3 times in a row. That was frustrating. They didn't tell us each item of rejection. They only told us one, sent it back, we fixed that, resubmitted. Then they'd tell us another reason, we'd fix that, and it would have been nice if they just simply said, here are the 3 things you need to fix, and then we'll let it through.
Is there a single point of contact? I mean, is there someone that you can email when you find an app gets stuck in the process?
There is not a single point of contact, and in fact, to many developers, there's not even a point of contact. If you have had an app rejected, you can contact the specific reviewer that is in charge of your app. And I've been able to have email exchanges and even phone calls with that person, and that's actually been a benefit. He's allowed me even to call him on subsequent apps or topics just for insight. They do make it clear, however, that they will not pre-approve anything. Because I had called him and said, hey, I have a client that wants to do X, Y, and Z. We know that's kind of borderline. And he said, well, chances are that should be fine, but I can't guarantee. Because once we submit it, it may not even go to that same reviewer. And what is frustrating is, I don't know how many dozens of different reviewers they have, but your app might get rejected by some of those and let through by others. It kind of just depends on who you get. That's another frustration in the process.
Now, Aaron, you had mentioned the Android marketplace. Are you developing your apps for that platform as well?
I do plan an Android edition of iGarage Sales, and that's to be released this spring. Also, another service that we're providing is mobilerealtyapps.com, and that's a service to provide smartphone apps to represent real estate agencies. And for that, we are planning first iPhone and Android apps. We have the iPhone app platform available right now, Android second, and we're potentially looking at BlackBerry after that.
Very cool. Now, Jason, with MileBug, it was one of my first must-have apps because I do a lot of miles on the car, doing a lot of freelance work and work for the digital lifestyle. And it's just one of those. There's an app for that. It's sort of a must-have app for the iPhone. Have you considered bringing that to other platforms?
We have. In fact, we're planning an Android version that will be ready this spring as well. We've looked at BlackBerry, but just haven't been able to find a good BlackBerry developer resource. And I'm not prepared to take the time to learn that new platform. I'll apply my iPhone expertise, and I have a friend who does Android development, so we'll get the MileBug one out there.
Is it just a matter of trying to reach as many people as you can, or are you hedging your bets a little bit, or are people seeing growth on that platform that make you think, gosh, this might be the front runner a few years down the road? Either one of you can take that.
Yeah, there's definite growth happening. Google actually contacted me last summer and asked if I would do MileBug on Android. And at the time, I wasn't prepared to do that. I didn't see enough potential in the Android market. But with the number of the new devices, specifically the Droid and now the new Nexus 1 and others that are real high-end Android smartphones, I believe there's now real potential and opportunity. And I have had at least a couple clients, or not clients, but MileBug customers ask, are you going to do this for the Android? And one said, you do it, I'll buy it. So, hopefully that's indicative of the larger market.
And I would just add, if you watch some of the statistics, the reports that AdMob releases monthly, as well as the Morgan Stanley mobile report that came out recently, you can just see the growth happening in the Android market. And I think the most notable figure that comes to mind is of smartphone traffic in the U.S. right now, approximately 82% is coming from either an iPhone or an Android device. I think iPhone was about 55% and Android was maybe 27%. So, based on web usage, shows that there is a lot of growth happening very fast there.
Jason, you'd mentioned that Google reached out to you. Have you heard that from other developers? I mean, do you think that was something that was fairly widespread at that time?
I think it was. Google knew that they were on the verge of something of a large growth curve, and they were trying to get developers behind the successful iPhone apps to get those same apps onto the Android platform. A friend of mine at another local company down here behind some very popular free apps, he had already made arrangements with Google and was already porting his apps over at the time. This was last August when that happened. So I think they were simply trying to prime the pump for what they knew was coming.
So, if you had to pick only one 3 years out, I'll go with you first, Aaron. Who do you think will be on top 3 years from now?
If you had to pin me down, I think Android will have more market share.
Jason? I'm sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
I don't think iPhone will be a distant second, so.
I'm going to pick the iPhone, but with a little asterisk. I think a large part of that is going to be what comes out this summer. Because right now the leading Android devices are higher end hardware and performance than the current 3GS. And if Apple says, hey, we're good enough, and they don't move up to the higher resolution screen, the higher powered and resolution cameras, then they're going to lose over the next year. If they step up to the plate and they meet or exceed those specs of these high-end Android devices, then they'll just continue to gobble up market share, and they'll just continue to keep their large lead and spin ahead. But I think it's a very pivotal year this year.
Well, and I think I'll add an asterisk too. Then I think if you see iPhone on Verizon, that's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're the number one wireless carrier still in the U.S. Also, we're recording this Tuesday night. There's a big announcement tomorrow, and the tablet and whatever else is announced could be game changing. So.
Yes, I agree. All of that.
How difficult is the process of porting an app that you've created for the iPhone to go over to the other platform?
Well, really, to have it as a native app, in some ways, I want to say you're starting from scratch. I don't think that's entirely true, but Android apps are Java-based solutions, and so there's not a direct one-to-one correlation of rewrite this code. Some of the techniques used in Android development are different. The life cycle of the app, with their ability to support background tasks and switching from app to app, there are a lot of different concepts that don't directly correlate. So while you are able to benefit from sort of the knowledge of the app design itself and maybe how you lay out some of the controls and things like that, though the specific layout will be different on the Android, you do have a leg up on a new platform. That said, you are starting from scratch. So iGarageSale makes heavy use of the map feature that's available on the iPhone. Technologies like PhoneGap are primarily HTML and CSS based, and so if I were to use that for, say, iGarageSale, I wouldn't be able to make use of those native map controls, and so the user experience wouldn't be as good.
I haven't used the tools, but I have explored a couple, sat in on one tutorial of one, and I think they have their place. There's a certain level of apps that I think they can do and do well, but I would definitely agree that once you get above that certain level, you're just not going to be able to get out of those tools what you're looking for. You just have to know up front what's going into your app, because you develop down that path. You don't want to get 3/4 of the way there and suddenly realize you can't put in there what you want in there.
Very good. Now, I wanted to ask both of you for any app that you're really enjoying right now from another developer in the App Store, if there's anything that comes to mind. Aaron?
Well, probably the two apps I use are on a daily basis are the same apps a lot of other people use, and that's Tweety and Instapaper Pro. Really like that I can read through my stream of tweets on Tweety and mark items as something I want to read later, and then Instapaper Pro queues those up, and I'm able to read those later. So those two especially I like. And then beyond that, I'd say some of my favorite apps are Lose It is a good calorie tracker, and I used a lot of Amazon.com over the holiday season. It's almost too easy to buy things with the app, and I don't play a lot of games, but my favorite two games I'd say are Labyrinth, the original, one of the original games on the platform, and more recently Paper Toss.
Very good, Jason.
Good. When you say what's my favorite apps, for me it's the games that come to mind first, because that's Civ. Sid Meier's Civ. I was a big fan of the game back in college. Lost many hours of sleep playing Civ on the old PCs, and now that it's on the iPhone, I can similarly waste hours at a shot playing that. And then similarly, another one is Lux Touch. It's basically the game of Risk on the iPhone. So I don't know what that says about me, that my top two games are World Conquest type games. But other apps I enjoy, Waitbot, just to keep track. They have a very clever user interface design and use of sounds with their interface. I think that's very clever. One of their comments, their missions, is they want to make you feel like you're not holding an iPhone, but actually holding this entirely other device because of how well they've immersed you in their UI and their world. And I think they accomplished that.
And I wanted to give you both a chance to talk about your apps. Now, we mentioned earlier the concept behind Match Tunes, but I'm not sure if we had started the show yet. So why don't you give everyone the overview of what Match Tunes does?
Okay, well, Match Tunes is a traditional matching game, but instead of matching images, you're matching song clips from the music right out of your iPod. So you come in, you're presented with a grid, and you tap one, hear a song clip, you need to tap another one, hear the other song clip. If it's the same clip, you've got your match, and you keep going. You get points for making matches. There's a timer that's going, so you get extra points if you beat the timer. If you get multiple matches in a row, you get multiple match bonuses. And you can go into the settings and say, well, I want a little more of a challenge. So instead of just matching on the clip being the exact same clip, you can say, well, I want the matches based on being in the same song. So a match could be two clips from different parts of the same song, but it's a match because it's the same song. And likewise, Harder and Harder is made by the same artist or put on the same album. So how well do you know your music is how well you're going to be able to play this game. And we've tapped in. We use OpenFaint to track high scores, so you can get in there, see how well you're doing compared to everyone else around the world. You can also tap into other games that you use from OpenFaint. And it's just a fun game. And you can choose which genre of music out of your iPod. So you can play the game once with your R&B, play it again with holiday music, play it again with classical or rock. And everyone has a different iPod library, so everyone plays a different game. That's really our tagline.
There you go. Perfect. Very good. And it's quite a departure from MileBug, your first app. And just real quickly, I think we touched on that as well. MileBug basically is a great mobile solution for keeping track of mileage for those of you who do freelance work or work independently, etc. So check that out as well. Aaron, we touched on mobilerealtyapps.com, and it sounds like that's really quite specific to realtors out there and the agencies looking for their own apps. So why don't you give us the quick overview of that and a look at iGarage Sale?
Okay. Well, for mobile realty apps, if we have any real estate agents that happen to be watching the show today, just head over to mobilerealtyapps.com, and we've got a 4-minute video there that really explains what our offering is. And if you happen to live in either the Minnesota area or in Seattle, Western Washington, we've released our first 2 apps for the MLSonline.com is the name of the brokerage firm. So if you just open up the App Store and search for the MLS Online as one word, you can try out those apps, and they're free. They are specific to two markets right now. iGarage Sale was the first app that I wrote, and basically what iGarage Sale does is it takes all of the garage sale listings off of Craigslist, geocodes the address that's available, figures out the date, date range of the garage sale, and it makes that available on a map. So basically, I wrote it because I've got a young child and never really went to garage sales before, but got to thinking if there was an easy way for me to see, within a 5-mile radius, all of the garage sales that have baby toys, that would be really useful to me. Much more useful than, say, sifting through a bunch of Craigslist postings. And so that's where the idea came from.
Very good, and I really think the key there is the mapping, because I know where I live. I've been here for years, but frankly, if I just saw a listing and a street I never heard of, I have no idea where that was relative to where I might be going to check out another sale or something like that. So, very cool. Thank you very much, Aaron Cardell. Jason Isaac, thank you for joining me, and I guess in a year we'll stop back and you'll be here on the Android Dev Show.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ryan.